You think you know who the richest people are, right? We see the tech billionaires on the news and we think, okay, that's the pinnacle. But you're not even close. The real titans of history, they weren't just playing the game. No, they owned the entire board. And their playbook, it makes today's fortunes look like, well, like pocket change.
$400 billion. Let that sink in. That was Elon Musk's peak net worth. I mean, what does that number even mean? Well, for you to earn that, you'd have to work for 8 million years. That's not a lifetime. That's 30 times longer than our entire species has even been on this planet. It's a fortune so mind-bogglingly huge, it's almost meaningless.
But here's the kicker. He's not the richest person in history. Not even close. The true titans, the real legends, they built financial empires on a scale that just dwarfs modern billionaires. So to find them, we've got to look deeper, way deeper. All right, so how do we find the richest person in history? Well, you can't just look at a bank statement. Come on, that's amateur hour. We have to go deeper. We have to decode the very definition of wealth. We're not just comparing fortunes here, we are comparing the actual blueprints for building a financial empire. See, true wealth, it isn't just about money. It's about power, it's about control, it's a strategy. It's the ability to literally shape the world around you. And to really get a handle on it, we have to start at the beginning, with its most raw, its most primal form, pure conquest.
Okay, let's open the playbook. Chapter 1. This isn't written in lines of code, you know? It's written in blood and soil. This is wealth forged by armies, built on the absolute, undeniable control of land.
Look at this number, $130 trillion. That's the estimated value of the land controlled by just one man, Genghis Khan. He didn't just build an empire, he conquered almost 20% of the entire planet. Let that sink in for a second. But here's the paradox, the really crazy part. Genghis Khan himself had almost zero personal wealth. He ate like his soldiers, he slept in the same tents, and he was even buried in a totally unmarked grave. So his genius wasn't hoarding gold. No, it was his wealth strategy. So what was his secret? Simple. He didn't keep the spoils of war. He gave every last bit of it away to his soldiers and his commanders. Now, this wasn't charity. This was a ruthless 1% power play to forge unbreakable loyalty. For any millionaire CEO watching this right now, the lesson is crystal clear. Your financial empire is only as strong as the people you invest in. Okay, but conquest has its limits, right? So what if you could have power that goes beyond just land? What if, instead of conquering all the pieces on the board, you just owned the entire game itself? This, my friends, brings us to a whole other level of control. Meet Joseph Stalin. Now, on paper, this guy was a man of simple means. Seriously, his paychecks would just pile up on his desk, totally uncashed. But at the same time, he wielded absolute, total control over the entire Soviet economy, a machine worth about $10 trillion in today's money.
The thing is, he didn't need a fortune. Why? Because he controlled the very machine that printed it. I mean, think about this for a second. When he had a fatal stroke, his own inner circle was so terrified of acting without his direct orders that they waited 12 hours before calling a doctor. That is absolute power.
Now, that is the ultimate billionaire mindset. It's not about chasing the profits. It's about owning the infrastructure, owning the platform, owning the system itself. That right there is the blueprint for truly untouchable power.
Okay, let's jump forward in time. We're moving to an age where financial empires weren't built with armies, but with industry. A time where a whole new kind of titan emerged, one who wielded the power of monopoly to forge his own empire. And that man was John D. Rockefeller. Look, he didn't just join the American oil industry. He became the industry. His company, Standard Oil, controlled a staggering 90% of all oil refining in the country. It wasn't a business. It was a complete and total stranglehold. So, naturally, the U.S. government declared war. They called it a monopoly, and in 1911, they shattered Standard Oil into 34 different pieces. This should have been the end of him, his ruin. But instead, it was his masterpiece. Why? Because Rockefeller still owned a piece of every single one of those new companies. And when their value exploded, the government's attack didn't just fail, it made him the world's first ever billionaire. The lesson here is just wow. It's profound. He structured his financial empire so perfectly that even a full-on attack from the most powerful government on Earth only made him richer. That's not just a wealth strategy. That's next-level strategic genius.
So that brings us back to today. We've seen the titan of land, the titan of control, and the titan of industry. But how does Rockefeller's empire really stack up against a modern guy like Musk? Well, the numbers, they tell a pretty fascinating story.
Okay, check this out. At his absolute peak, Rockefeller's fortune was equal to 2% of the entire US economy. Now, by comparison, Elon Musk's peak was about 1.4%. So by that metric, Rockefeller had a bigger slice of the American pie.
Case closed, right? He's the richest. Well, not so fast, because there's one crucial piece of context we're missing. While Rockefeller's slice of the pie was bigger, the entire pie itself was 22 times smaller than it is today.
See, the world itself has just become exponentially wealthier. So you get it? Rockefeller had a bigger slice, but it was a much, much smaller pie. Elon Musk is the biggest fish in the biggest, richest pond that has ever existed.
So, this brings us to the final verdict. After looking at conquest, control, and monopoly, who is the true richest person in history? Who really wears the crown?
And the truth is, there isn't just one answer. Because richest can mean a lot of different things. The titan of pure land was, without a doubt, Genghis Khan. The titan of absolute economic control, Joseph Stalin. The titan of industrial dominance, John D. Rockefeller. And the titan of pure, personal, verifiable fortune, that's Elon Musk. Each one was a master of a different kind of power.
You see, the greatest financial empires, they aren't built with money. They're built with a blueprint, a strategy. The cash is just a byproduct. The real prize isn't the fortune, it's the formula. If you want more deep dives into the billionaire mindset of the titans, make sure you subscribe.